Reduce Energy Use DC campaign webinar, where we're going to talk a little bit about how businesses, especially small businesses in DC, can reduce their energy use and as well as their climate impact. My name is Ben Burdick. I am with the DC Sustainable Energy Utility. I'm the Director of Marketing Communications. Here at the DCSEU, which is one of the founding partners of the Reduce Energy Use DC campaign, along with PEPCO and the Department of Energy and Environment, and more than 20 other partnering organizations from around the district. Here at the DCSEU, we help district businesses and residents use less energy, save money through energy efficiency and renewable energy programs, and in the process, create jobs for DC residents and ensure all residents can experience the benefits of energy efficiency and renewable energy. I am joined here today by two folks. Joanna Saunders, who is the Energy Benchmarking Program Manager at the Department of Energy and Environment, or DOEE, and Annie Ratanasam, who is the Sustainability Director at the DC Greenbank. And if you guys want to introduce yourselves and talk a little bit about your organizations, that would be great.
Yeah, I could go first. Hi, everyone. As Ben mentioned, I'm Annie Ratanasam. I'm the Sustainability Director at the DC Greenbank, and my role focuses on all things sustainability internally and externally. Also, our performance target metrics, the asset management policies, and things in that nature. And a little bit about the DC Greenbank is that we are an investment bank. So the DC Greenbank actually became operational in April of 2020. So we're what you can call a 2020 baby. So our mission is to provide access to capital, growing the clean economy to develop a more equitable, resilient, sustainable DC. And some of our values is to focus on sustainability, clean economy, and inclusive prosperity. So yeah, so I'm happy to be a part of the inside scoop on that. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Annie. Joanna, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Joanna Saunders, and I am the Energy Benchmarking Program Manager at the Department of Energy and Environment, or DOEE. And so my role is managing all the day-to-day operations of our energy benchmarking law, which has been in effect for about a decade now. I also help support the newly established building energy performance standards. I work on the Building Performance and Enforcement Branch team that oversees both of those programs. DOEE as a whole, we are in the executive branch of district government, and our mission is to advance the mayor's vision to make DC the most greenest, healthiest, most livable city in the country. So we've got a bunch of different initiatives going on, our specific focus being on building energy policy and energy efficiency.
Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us here today. As I said, we're here to talk about how businesses in DC can reduce their energy use to save money, but also make their work environment more sustainable. And ultimately, all of us are here to help reduce our climate impacts so that we can meet the very aggressive and laudable goals that the district has set forth to meet by 2032 and by the middle of this century, 2050. So, we'll start off with some questions for the group. We'll be monitoring the chat for comments and questions that anybody has. So just let us know if you have any questions as we go through these. As many of you know, the pandemic really took its toll on district businesses, especially small businesses. So it's something that we're definitely keeping in mind, and something that I think all of us here believe that energy efficiency and reducing your energy use can have a really positive impact on helping businesses emerge as strong as ever, or hopefully stronger than ever, as we all try to emerge from the pandemic and get back to some semblance of normal. So the first question that I'll throw out, and I'll throw this one out to Joanna from DOEE, is, why is it important for businesses to have sustainable business practices?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, from an energy perspective, as many of you might know, the district doesn't necessarily have any traditional industry that's causing greenhouse gas emissions. Our industry is government, it's people in buildings. And so we see that when we look at our greenhouse gas inventory, where 75% of our greenhouse gas emissions are coming from buildings directly, lighting them, heating them, cooling them, everything that has to do with operating within a building in the district. And so that's obviously going to be the biggest piece of the pie that we have to tackle if we're ever going to meet our aggressive carbon reduction goals and reach carbon neutrality by 2050. And so obviously businesses are a big part of that, because most businesses in the district are operating out of these buildings in some way or another. And so it's a huge collaborative effort across every industry in the district. And I think, we might traditionally think that these large commercial buildings are the only ones who are engaged. And while they do represent, the biggest chunk of those covered buildings who are contributing to all these emissions, it comes all the way down to even single family homes and their energy consumption. So I think everyone has to play a part. And so it's exciting to see that we're engaging more businesses in this conversation, because it's going to take a lot of work from every facet of the district in order to meet those goals, just because, like you said, they are aggressive, but they are necessary.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I know the DCSEU has been working really closely with DOEE to work with the buildings once, in your work with benchmarking all these buildings here in DC, as we ramp down to smaller buildings, 25,000 square feet, and then, further down to those over 10,000 square feet. Defining a small business can be kind of hard in DC, but there are certainly businesses that may be quote unquote small businesses that take up buildings of those sizes. So it's really important. And once somebody benchmarks their building, you can really have organizations like ours, the DCSEU and the DC Greenbank, like Annie's organization, dive in and figure out where the opportunities are to reduce energy use. So Annie, I didn't know if you had anything to add to that in terms of, you guys are a little newer to the game here, starting in 2020, and getting ramped up on a lot of your programming. And we've had the pleasure of working with you on a few projects, but I don't know if you had anything to add to that.
Yeah. Well, I guess my little tidbit of that is, I think that it is important, because what we do and how we conduct business ultimately affects us all. And although we're working in DC and we're trying to make DC as best as we can and as sustainable as we can, this really does, affect the masses. So, when we think about that, it's I almost think of it as an analogy. So there could be a lot of analogies to this, but I think of it as like we're in the same fish tank. And so, if we keep that fish tank clean, we could continue to thrive and, enjoy it and move along with our business. So if we were a fish, we would be swimming along happily. But then if we keep, polluting it or doing things that we already know based on experience and history, it would then harm us in our health. So, a lot of times, like Joanna mentioned, it's buildings that is a big emitter in DC. So, yeah, and I guess to wrap up that analogy, is just, if we were a fish, we would be on our way to floating upside down. So, in other words, just, businesses in general cannot thrive without people. So what we're trying to do is just, in a business sense, collaborate and do our best to provide those tools to have the buildings, meet those standards or even better. So, yeah, it's my little input.
No, I like your analogy there. It's definitely true, and yeah, it's been great working with both of you to try and really ramp things up and provide the support that the businesses and the buildings here in DC are going to need to be able to meet these aggressive goals that the district has set forth. So it's really important work, and we want to make sure that the businesses know that there are resources here for them to help them achieve their goals and achieve the district's goals. I quickly wanted to bring in, we're lucky enough to have a small business owner here joining us. Dr. Terry Victor from the DC Dentist, who happens to be a 2021 District Sustainability Award winner, I believe. So I want to welcome Dr. Terry, and I want to punt this question to him as well. You know, why is it important for businesses like yours here in DC to have sustainable business practices?
For me, it was a choice that I had to make. It was a choice of how I see the world and how I wanted to function in the world, and how I wanted to take responsibility for what it is that I was doing. And it's always been my philosophy that we have to take it easy on the planet and not just be polluters. So we have so many different aspects of our office that are sustainable, that are green, that are eco-friendly. And it was definitely by choice. And I really placed an importance on it because I thought that, I have to do my part to try to decrease some of those things that I saw that was happening to the planet, and how it really wasn't going in a proper direction for me. So although when I first told people that I was going to do a sustainable dental office, the reaction was like, well, why would you do that? Why don't you just go ahead and just build a normal dental office? So my response was, well, why would I do that? When I could make it sustainable and something that was very different and very special.
No, that's great. And can you talk a bit about, when you say a sustainable dentist office, what are some of the things that you've done to raise the level of sustainability in your office?
Oh, wow. We've done a lot. We have about 25, 30 different things that are sustainable. Just to list them, we have a green roof. We have our ceiling tiles are made out of recycled plastic bottles. The furniture in the office is made from recycled material. The flooring is the natural flooring. The building was built in 1904, and we have terrazzo floors that we brought back because they were in a pretty bad state. We have no VOC paint. We have high efficiency lighting, our high efficiency HVAC system. The windows and the doors all have a film on it, so that stops UV light from coming in. In the summertime, it keeps the air in. In the wintertime, it keeps the warmth in. So it really saves us a lot on our utility bill. We have a tankless water heater. Our carpeting is made from post-consumer material. There's just so many. We have skylights. I think I mentioned the green roof. All of those things that we put into place. Our countertops are made from ice stone. All of those things that we put into place because we saw that it was an important thing. And I really like the idea of what the mayor's doing, and the bold predictions that she's made about what we want to see happen as far as sustainability, and being DC being one of the most sustainable cities in the country. And to me, that really kind of like vibe with my mindset. So it was nothing. And right now, even when we look at our utility bills, and when we look at some of our electric bill, all of it is lower than what it normally was. So and that wasn't really why we did it, but it's a great benefit to have.
No, that's fantastic. Incredible to hear all the work that you've done to make your business sustainable. And ultimately, it is some of the lighting and HVAC work you've done. Sounds like it's not only made your business more sustainable from a climate standpoint, but also reducing your costs overall, which is always a plus as well with running a small business. So
yes.
You gave us some great examples of how businesses can fight climate change, but I wanted to hear from Joanna and Annie some other things that they think small businesses can do to help fight climate change. And I'll let Annie, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. And thank you, Dr. Terry, for that. I would definitely love to go to a dentist that has that. I've never been to one that has all those great features. So thank you for doing what you're doing. For your question, Ben, I think that some of the ways that the DC businesses could do to fight climate change is, I guess, first, it would be to have a plan, to also have it be a priority, because we know that sometimes when there's a strategic planning happening, it could get lost. So having like a target deadline for what those implementations would be as well. So some of that could be just measuring your emissions and having that energy audit as well, so that you can see what those pinpoint areas are where the unnecessary energy waste is coming from, or what you can do. Sorry, my allergies are acting up. And also just reducing consumption. So things like having smart technologies would definitely help. Just those ways too, and just there's a whole list that, and a lot of those examples are what Dr. Terry mentioned as well. But they come in different ways, such as reducing waste. So that can be thinking about your supply chain, your and also your operations and your shipping as well. So there's just a lot of, I think, mechanisms and good resources that are out there, and I think that there's just like other ways that we can also raise awareness in education and within our internal companies as well, and providing those resources to the public.
That's great. And it's great we have examples, shining examples like Dr. Terry to refer back to, that other businesses can kind of emulate. So, Joanna, one question is that we often get from businesses is, how do I know that what I'm going to install is going to save me energy? How do I know what I'm currently looking at versus making upgrades to my business? How do I know it's going to make changes? So can you talk a little bit about what your work at DOE and how that might help?
Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of segues well into what Annie was just speaking about, is in order to take those next steps and devise a plan, it's really important to know where you're starting from, having a baseline and knowing, all right, if this is our performance now, this is where we want to reach, and then working backwards from there. It's like, okay, now what measures do we actually need to implement? So that's really what energy benchmarking is. It's a requirement for private buildings and public buildings over a certain size in DC, but it's also to their benefit. So having to enter your energy consumption every year, being able to see how your energy use patterns have changed over the last 10 years is really valuable information, because it is just a living record of how your building is operating. And it helps highlight where there might be opportunities for improvement. It also can help you track, if you already did install all LED lighting at one point, can you see your actual consumption go down? Our tool that we use, Portfolio Manager, provides really awesome graphs that actually just shows your energy consumption over time. And obviously we want to be seeing that graph just go down and down and down. And so having that baseline, setting up your property so that you have a starting point is foundational. And then what's really great about specifically Portfolio Manager is it allows you to then kind of plug in different scenarios and say, okay, if I want to reduce my energy consumption by this amount, or if I want to reach this certain level of performance, what do I need to do to get there? And it can help you just provide a really simple snapshot of opportunities for improvement. I know there's a lot of really great free tools. I don't know if I could say them all off the top of my head, but they're out there and they exist at no cost for building owners, where they can just plug in all of their energy data, and these databases will tell you, we think that there are biggest opportunities for savings in XYZ areas. And that's just a really simple place to start getting those low-hanging fruit, which will probably have the biggest amount of savings, and hopefully also not be super high cost.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point that you make of the tools that are out there at no cost. And in addition, making some of these changes to reduce your energy use don't necessarily have to have a high cost or any cost. They can be behavioral in nature, where you're encouraging your employees to turn off their computers when they leave the office. You're encouraging your employees to make sure the lights are off before they leave the office, or low cost installing occupancy sensors in the restrooms at a restaurant. Those sorts of things are pretty low cost or no cost, and things that everybody can do. So I think that's an important point, that there are a lot of tools out there. In addition to the folks that are on this call from DOEE, DC Greenbank, and then from the DCSEU, there are lots of resources out there to take advantage of. The last question I'll throw, I know, Dr. Terry, you might have to leave here shortly. So I wanted to make sure that we got this question because I think it's an important one for somebody who's running a small business to answer, and then we'll throw it to the rest of the group. But something that has come through a lot of our customers, and I'll never forget what one customer said was, this customer ran a local restaurant and said, if I want to increase my profits and I sell another, let's say, widget, I only get a small percentage of that, the profit from whatever I'm selling. If I save $1 on my energy costs, I get that whole dollar. And I think that's an important point that they made, which was, it does have the opportunity to improve cash flow, to reduce your operations and maintenance costs sometimes. So, Dr. Terry, talk a little bit about, how energy efficiency might improve cash flow at a business like yours, or any small business in DC.
Yeah, that's a great concept, because I really believe that it really helps, that if you're able to keep that dollar and not just get a smaller piece of a pie, then it makes a big difference. Another aspect of your question that I think is important is that, for us, what we've really seen is that, if we're talking about the economics of it, there are people out there that are searching for people that are sustainable, because now it's like people have a certain level of consciousness about that. And what I've found is that people end up finding us and coming to us because we are sustainable. And that also has improved our economic status, because now we get many more people that people come to try to find us and come to us from as far away as New York. They come to our office. So I think that as you become more sustainable, people could really identify with that. And once they start identifying with that, and once they start seeing that it's also, what's important to them is also important to you, then that makes it, that's a customer right there that you'd probably never be able to get rid of. So I think that the whole sustainability and the effort that's required, I like what was said before about the planning and, getting to know what it is that you need to do, where you need to go, and how it is that you get there. All that is well worth the effort once you get there. Because for me, I found that once we get there, it was like, this is really great. So I would encourage even small businesses. I mean, part of setting up a business and part of running a small business is that you have to put some time in, you have to put some effort in. So if you could have some tools, especially if the tools are free and the tools are able for you to perform better, then it works better on your bottom line. And I think for me that I'm a proof of that. I shouldn't say me, but my practice is proof of that you can have both, right? That you can be sustainable and you can be very profitable. I think that you don't have to choose between one or the other. And I think and especially in DC, I think that maybe in other parts of the country, maybe not so much, but in DC, I think that is something that's really good. And I can stay a little bit longer if you have any more questions, or we open it up.
Oh, fantastic. Great. Yeah. Glad to hear that you can stay. And that was a fantastic answer, and one that, as a somebody working in marketing communications, I can attest to that. Many of our customers at the DCSEU who've come to work with us use sustainability as a selling point for their business. And you've got some very, very smart folks here in DC, and very sustainability and energy conscious in DC. And I do think it gives a lot of businesses a leg up. Before I jump to our next question, we do have a question from a viewer here of what role can an employee have in energy efficiency when working with an employer who may not have that as a priority, asking as a future DC employee. And we appreciate that question. Yeah,
I can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I think part of what might be the well, not really like an issue, but part of this situation might be that if you maybe make that person, the owner of the business, if you make them a little bit more aware in all of the things that we've just been talking about, you can save money in the long run. People are going to seek you out. All of those things, if you can make them have a certain awareness of it, because sometimes a business owner might not be aware. So I think education is a big part of it also. So if you can educate them and bring them to a certain level of awareness, and you get them to see that, you can be very successful in doing this, and you could also do something good for the planet, kind of like a feel good sort of thing. I think a lot of businesses might at least look into it, and I think that might be one way that this person might try to approach that.
Yeah, and I'll echo that. We definitely have gotten these types of questions before at the DCSEU, and I would say, Annie, Joanna, myself, all of our organizations are here to help make those cases for organizations, and for employees who may not be the leader or the owner of that business. We can help make the case, and just having that starting point, knowing where you are in terms of your business's energy use, is a great starting point. That once we have that, we can really help determine where some of that low-hanging fruit that Joanna talked about is, especially for businesses that may not have pursued sustainability or energy efficiency measures in the past. Thank you very much for that question. Hopefully that answers your question. I want to throw this one to both Annie and Joanna, and I'll talk a little bit about what the DCSU is doing. But what programs does DC offer that encourage sustainable business practices? And I'll let Joanna start that one off.
Sure. I mean, I'll have to say it's not so much a offering as a legal requirement, but we do require that all buildings of a certain size annually disclose their benchmarking data. However, from a more helpful standpoint, we operate a help center that's purely dedicated to offering assistance to building owners and helping them navigate spaces that they might not be familiar with or comfortable with, or maybe dipping their toe in for the first time. So we are certainly not throwing anyone to the wolves here. We are there to help, because what's most important to us is receiving really solid, useful, helpful baseline data. And so we are constantly offering educational webinars, office hours. We're available by email and phone to answer any and all questions. And then specifically looking forward, as you mentioned, Ben, our benchmarking threshold is dropping down first to 25,000 square feet and then again to 10,000 square feet, which might include a lot of these businesses, or at the very least are going to include buildings that businesses operate out of. And because we require whole building energy data to be reported, every single office, ground floor, retail store, everything, that's all included. And so it involves every part of that building. And so right now, what we're really trying to push for is getting those smaller buildings who aren't quite yet required to benchmark to get set up, reach out to us, schedule time to talk with us so that we can offer one-on-one assistance and pretty much get you through the entire process, have you all set up so that you're not facing any penalties in the future. Because, like I said, it's a legal requirement. We do have enforcement authority, but we're constantly trying to do everything in our power to avoid getting to that point. What we're most interested in getting people set up, having good baseline data. So this is a plug for anyone who operates out of a building that's 10,000 square feet and above. Please reach out to our help center, engage with us. We can help you, even if it's not a requirement right now. As I think we've all mentioned, it's an important step in improving energy efficiency, helping the district achieve its climate goals. So that's my personal plug. And then, of course, I'm not the subject matter expert in this, but our building energy performance standards were launched at the beginning of this year, which is now a legal requirement to meet a certain energy performance threshold. So beyond just understanding your data, it's now, okay, take that data and do something with it. Make those improvements, make those investments, identify areas that are going to give you the biggest savings over a certain period of time. And so we're also there to answer any and all questions. when it comes to the performance standards as well as energy benchmarking.
Yeah, so it's it's all about getting ahead of the game, and not letting the fact that it's not a requirement yet stop you from utilizing Energy Star Portfolio Manager as a tool to really baseline where you are as a business. And again, I'll repeat, once you have that information, you can come to organizations like the DC Greenbank and the DCSEU, who can then help you. And I'll segue to Annie to let her talk a little bit about how DC Greenbank can help programmatically once that information is readily available.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. And that goes with exactly what Joanna was saying, and what we do at the DC Greenbank is to provide those tools. So right now, we do have 3 active products, but what we are seeking to do is to be that go-to financing resource for the district's small businesses, owners, the commercial developers interested in energy efficiency improvements. So all the standards that Joanna was mentioning as well, and just to get there, even within renewable energy installations. So one of our 3 products that we have is Clear, and I know due to time I can't say everything, but Clear is a program that's it's actually for short for the commercial loan for energy efficiency and renewable program. It's pretty long, but it is where the eligibility spans to multifamily, commercial, and industrial property owners, so as well as commercial building tenants in DC. So things like implementing retrofits and renovations for those existing buildings. And then the second one is the Navigator. That's a pre-development loan that we have, and this is where it's a simple line of credit that funds customized design of energy improvements for new and existing commercial, nonprofit owned, and affordable multifamily properties. So that is one of the things that people can do for the pre-development side. And then the DOEE actually has the PACE program right now, but it will be transferred over to the DC Greenbank to administer sometime later this year. So that is also another great way to help finance these energy efficiency and renewable energy measures as well. And besides the 3 products that we offer now, we're definitely looking into creating more to best fit what the need of the market is. So we're also welcoming open solicitation for just creative ideas and potential partnerships as well. So I would say you can definitely check out more about us and the programs that I mentioned at the dcgreenbank.com website.
Thanks, Annie. And I know we're, of course, we work with our client DOEE very closely, but I know we're working closely with DC Greenbank on potential partnerships now and in the future. I'll give a quick plug to the DCSEU offerings. In terms of what the DC Sustainable Energy Utility offers, for the last 10 years, we've been offering rebates and no-cost technical assistance to businesses here in the district. That can be anything from lighting rebates to upgrade your lighting to LEDs, HVAC rebates to upgrade your heating and cooling systems to more efficient systems, food service equipment, which I know would be a big one with a lot of small businesses. A lot of DC small businesses are restaurants, so making the upgrade. And many times businesses are not able to just retire equipment before it breaks. But we would encourage folks to try to do that. But if something does break, to make sure that they're reaching out to us, to DC Greenbank, to DOEE, to find out what's available to them to help bring down the cost of that equipment, so that they can afford that equipment and take advantage of the savings that they'll have over the life of that equipment as well. So definitely would encourage you to visit the DCSEU's website, dcseu.com, to see what we have available, and definitely work closely with DC Greenbank and DOEE. I'm seeing if we have any additional questions or comments from the viewers. I don't see anything, so I just wanted to throw out one more thing for folks. Is there anything that you're working on right now that you want to highlight that DC government or your organization is doing right now? I'll throw it to Dr. Terry first to see if there's anything else he has planned. It sounds like you have everything you could possibly do to your office right now, but I was wondering if you had anything else planned to make that to up your sustainability.
Yeah, we definitely do. Actually, as I was talking about before, we are actually growing and expanding. So I think I'm gonna check you guys out with the DC Bank, because we are planning on almost doubling the size of our practice, and we need to have some. I didn't know about the DC Bank and all of that, so maybe I'll get in touch with you. But that's the biggest thing that's on our agenda right now, is to get that done. And I'll probably give you a call tomorrow to see if there's anything that we can do with that. And the other thing is that the only other thing that we have planning right now is that the city paper, the Washington City paper, they have like a best of DC program. So I think in the last like 5 years or so, we've been the best dentist in DC. So we've won that award, which is great, and that's something that we're just working on and making it year number 6. But that's about it. Just serving our patients and doing that.
Well, best of luck, and yeah, definitely reach out to DC Greenbank. Reach out to us as you look to expand your offices. We'd love to talk with you about that.
Yeah, that would be great. But I do have to run. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dr.
You guys
Terry.
having me on. I'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
And Joanna, anything from DOEE you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'll just highlight again upcoming changes to our program. So April 1st of 2022, that is the annual reporting deadline, and that is the first time that we anticipate about 1,000 new buildings will be benchmarking. And so we are actively trying to get the word out, make sure that every building who's over 25,000 square feet is aware of this new requirement. Again, offering our services from now until March 31st at midnight, essentially, to make sure that they are set up and know what the requirements are and are not facing any potential enforcement. And then, of course, the big one, the building energy performance standards, those went into effect January 1st of this year, and that impacts about half of our private buildings over 50,000 square feet. We are in the process of notifying buildings if they have met or have not met the BEPS. All of this data is also publicly available right now. If you're in a building that's over 50,000 square feet, you don't necessarily need to wait to get that physical piece of paper. You can go to our public disclosure on open data and find out if your building meets the BEPS. So if you're a small business that's operating in a larger building, or if you are a business that happens to be in a building that's over 50,000 square feet, we encourage you to go find out sooner rather than later, because even though the BEPS period spans 6 years, the sooner you can get the ball rolling, the better, because it's just going to give you a larger swath of options. It's going to probably be less expensive when you're averaging it over 6 years, rather than trying to cram in a bunch of measures at the last second. So really encourage you, if you don't know enough or don't know anything about our building energy performance standards or energy benchmarking, visit our website, and please reach out to the Benchmarking Help Center if you have any questions. We're there to help.
No, that is a great point, and I know we've been meeting with a large group of folks who are regularly talking about the building energy performance standards rollout and the rules and guidance that will be coming very soon, I believe, to buildings over 50,000 square feet. So yes, definitely encourage folks to go see where they fall in terms of building energy performance standards, and know that there will be resources there that are available. The earlier that they start, the resources like the DC Greenbank and DCSEU will be there to help them along their pathways to comply with the BEPS. So Annie, I'll close it off with you with anything you want to talk about that the DC Greenbank might have coming soon or working on.
Yeah, definitely. we will definitely be collaborating a lot with the DOEE and the DCSEU with multiple things, including the BEPS. So that's to come. And one of the things on the sustainability end is that we're also working on doing the more of like educational pieces and outreach materials so that we can just help the public and property owners, just people in general to also understand the importance of sustainability measures and why we're doing it and also how to start. So I'll definitely be reaching out to a lot of our agency partners to see, you know, where we can provide those resources and plug a lot of that reference in there as well. And yeah, and just to add that if you guys have any questions about what we can do to help the tools that we have right now or the tools that you think we should have, definitely reach out to the DC Greenbank as well.
Great. Thank you so much, Annie. I'm going to do a quick plug for the DCSEU in terms of some stuff we have. If anybody out there listening is, you know, a restaurant or any kind of food service, small grocery store, anything like that, we do have a special offer right now on refrigeration equipment, both fan motors and door heater controls. I know this is getting a little bit technical, but right now we will cover up to 100% of the materials costs to upgrade to more efficient options on both of those technologies. So definitely would encourage folks to reach out to us. info@dcsu.com. Call us at 202-479-2222. And we can tell you more about those offers and all the rebates and no-cost technical assistance that we can offer DC businesses. I just wanted to say thank you very much to both Annie, Joanna, and Dr. Terry, who had to leave us a little early, for joining us today. This was a fantastic discussion here. Lots of work to be done. And, you know, we know that the DC businesses are we're counting on them and they're counting on us to make sure that we're all making this happen and making sure that we're in the best position to make DC the most, the greenest, most livable city in the country. So we're here to help you guys. We want to make sure that you know these resources are available. So we appreciate you joining us today. I'll close it out just by saying the Reduce Energy Use DC campaign continues on. We would encourage you to take the pledge for Reduce Energy Use DC. Take the pledge today at reduceenergyusedc.com, and you could have a chance at winning a $300 energy bill credit from Pepco. So thank everyone very much for joining us today. Don't hesitate to reach out to all of us here on this call as you go try to make your business more sustainable and reduce your energy use. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks. Bye,
Thanks
everyone.
for having us. Bye.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.